Hello, thanks for joining us for this session around postal reforms and retail and what Ofcom's changes mean to this industry. I'm joined today by Amanda Fergusson, CEO of the Greeting Card Association, David Falkner, co-owner of Cardology and also the chair of the GCA Postal Subcommittee, and David Bike, owner of Swantex, Great British Card Company, Ling, gifted stationery company, and also a GCA council member. He's been very busy recently. Thank you all for joining today to talk about what is a really pressing issue in our sector right now. So let's start with understanding what the issue is. We've seen headlines in the newspapers about reforms to the postal service. What is actually happening and what are the changes that Ofcom are proposing? And perhaps, Amanda, you can help by starting.
I'll kick off. I'm holding this, which is a QR code to a petition, which you can find on the parliamentary website. Just search USO. The USO is the universal service obligation that Royal Mail have to deliver letters every day, 6 days of the week, to every household across the country. And as you will have read in the press, this service is under threat. Ofcom are proposing that second-class letters are only delivered every other working day, which leaves consumers and small businesses across the country reliant on the unregulated first class stamps for Saturday deliveries. Now, we all know first class has gone up 5 times in the last 3 years, 22% in October alone. So a first class letter is £1.65 now. Second class is regulated under the Universal Service Obligation, the USO. So Royal Mail can't put that up at the same levels. But what they are going to do, they want to do, is cut back the service. Ofcom say they can do that under current legislation if they continue to deliver 6 days a week with first class, which, as I said, is unregulated. Now, the key here is this issue unites online and high street retailers, because anyone trying to send parcel of orders out to their customers using the letter post are going to be affected. And that's many online retailers, many of our members at the Greeting Card Association who are working in their back bedrooms, sending cards out to their customers. And it affects high street retailers too, for 2 reasons. One, they may be sending out orders, but obviously their customers are coming into their stores to buy cards that they may well want to send on. Consumers are confused and they're put off. £1.65 is a lot to send a card, and they are going to start voting with their feet. It is going to have a dramatic effect on our industry. So we're calling for parliamentary scrutiny of these changes before they go ahead. It also affects everyone on the high street because it will affect our communities. It will affect the post offices, because they are going to have less business if Royal Mail are delivering fewer deliveries in the week. We all know our postmasters are under pressure, and actually the banks for many independent retailers. So a lot of change. It does affect so many people. So please sign our petition. But we've only got 10 minutes, so I'm going to hand over.
Thank you, Amanda. I mean, you've very well explained what the challenge is and why it's a problem for the industry. So have we spoken to Ofcom? Why do Ofcom say these changes are necessary, David?
Yeah, we've been to Ofcom several times. We've had lots of dialogue with Ofcom, and I think they're a bit rubbish. They aren't listening enough to the consumer. They are being heavily petitioned by the Royal Mail, who are spending an awful lot of money on approaching them, whereas the consumer needs a regular, reliable, affordable and geographical service. And the chap who was running on behalf of Ofcom admitted to us that he didn't actually send Christmas cards himself, which put him psychologically in a position that he wasn't engaged, in my opinion, in the overall requirement of what we do. There's an awful lot more data, a lot more polling, and we need people to complain about the outcomes. Daniel Krasinski's found a lot of value in the Royal Mail. We're surprised that Ofcom still think that they are entirely loss-making and as a result need to be subsidised. Every business changes, but they are changing beyond recognition, and the USO needs to be changed to make sure that the Royal Mail can't do exactly what they want.
And I think you touched on it there, David, but I'd love to get your thoughts on how credible you feel that case is from Ofcom for these changes?
Well, I think David made a number of really good points on that matter. The big thing is that Ofcom have just changed out their entire postal team over the summer. Now, I have no doubt that Ofcom held their beliefs absolutely sincerely, but it's just somewhat unfortunate the facts kind of get in the way of the narrative. Now, Ofcom said that the British public, the reason they're making this change is that the British public doesn't use the USO in the way they want it. It's just unfortunate their own data shows majority public support for every single aspect of the USO. To put it politely, the British public might be being inadvertently misled. And then we come back to what is the real issue? Well, the real issue is that if you listen to the narrative in the public mind, Royal Mail's letters business is an absolute millstone around their neck. But that's not true. It's the fastest growing part of their business at the moment. The real hole is in parcels. Letters are growing at 12.7% per year. It's an incredible number. But what they're seeing is that in the parcels market, they're losing market share. Now, to my mind, it just seems more convenient to blame the entire problem on a monopoly business where you are the incumbent and hope that the regulator lets you get away with it.
That's a very interesting viewpoint. I like that. And so then what alternative course of action would there be? What do you suggest
Well,
the solution here?
I think the problem is what we've seen is kind of since 2021, we saw Royal Mail introduce the direct-to-service product for their bulk access mail. Now, that really represented a real inflection point. I don't know if we've got a graph at this stage that we might be able to flick up.
I think we're just getting that up on the screen now. There we go.
It's really interesting because, to my mind, that represents a massive inflection point. Before the pandemic, none of us were talking about the batching of mail services. That idea that this mass of mail arrives one day and then you don't see letters for weeks or days to come just wasn't a thing that we discussed.
No, not at all.
And what the graph shows is that actually prices have skyrocketed on the unregulated first-class service. Service has gone off a cliff, and all of a sudden, guess what? Volumes are starting to go down a little bit faster. I wonder why that could possibly be. So all we're saying is, why wouldn't you fix service? Why wouldn't you demand that Royal Mail actually deliver the service they are legally obligated to do? And then we can look at the underlying issues and work out what changes are really needed. But to do otherwise is to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And it reminds me of the beaching cuts on the railways in the 1960s. Why would we cut so deeply when there are so many different things where the mail could be used for? We know in our own industry that we need digital cut through. We have digital saturation in a lot of areas. Paper products really do get tactile cut through. There's so many different opportunities. And this isn't just about greeting cards. This is a large letter product. I have no other option of sending it. This is a large letter product. This is a large letter product. For gift retailers all up and down the countryside, this is critical, and it's critical for our high streets.
I think it's brilliantly demonstrated, and I think people do think sometimes this is just about cards, but you see so many products around this show today that are designed to fit through a letterbox for exactly that reason. So it does affect the wider industry as well. And obviously here, you're all representatives of the GCA, and obviously we have the CEO of the GCA here. So what are you doing to share? Or some bit. Well, so what are you doing to share these views, and how can we as an industry kind of get behind it?
Well, we are obviously talking regularly to Royal Mail and Ofcom, as David said earlier. And, we get Royal Mail as a business. We get they need to make a profit. But we want them. They have a monopoly service. We all love our posties. It's a USP, isn't it? We want them to see them behind that and supporting the letters post. So, but actually, we want MPs on this. We want them to understand what we're in danger of losing. Royal Mail's postal delivery service is 500 years old. We all love our posties. It's a key part of community life in the UK, and we want the government and ministers to be aware of what's happening here, because we're worried these changes are going to go through under the radar and we won't realise what we had until we've lost it.
Thank you, Amanda. And I think the real call to action here is, how can we support you? Is that sign this petition?
Yes, parliamentary website, search USO and share it with your customers. I mean, we've got leaflets around, and if you, as I say, if you needed some sent out, you can actually download it for this leaflet for free on the Greeting Card Association website if you Google petition. But we really need to get to 10,000 signatures, ideally 100,000, because we want MPs debating this and aware of this. People need NHS letters, they need this legal document, and as David's mentioned, it's not just cards, it's a raft of products that people send through the post. We love our letter service and we don't want to lose it.
And there's the QR code up on the screen. Please, everybody get your phones out, scan it, sign the petition, and let's get behind this really important campaign. I want to thank you for joining me this afternoon, David, Amanda, and David. Thank you for joining. Please do sign that petition. Thank you. Okay.